Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back from the ad break. You are still watching Prime Live. Joining us this evening is Peter Goldsmid, a screenwriter, director whose latest project, Looking into Darkness, is a true crime series that delves into the devastating femicide cases that have occurred in Meadowlands community. Now, Peter served as a co-producer for this powerful series, which calls for empathy, justice, and systematic change through survivors' stories and forensic insight. I'm really looking forward to this conversation with him, and he joins us on Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Peter Goldsmid, and welcome to Prime Live. May you please unmute yourself?
Okay, good. Done. Okay.
Done. Yes.
Thanks very much. I'm really happy and honored to be here. It's great. But I just wanted to start out by correcting one thing. Meadowlands or Soweto is only one of the locations. We've actually covered quite a lot of the country, and in fact, more in the Western Cape than in Gauteng. So that is the one correction I'd like to make, if possible, that we cover much more than one part of Soweto.
Thank you so much for giving us that correction. I'm just going to jump right into it because the topic of femicide is incredibly sensitive and powerful. What inspired you and your team to approach this issue through a true crime series?
Yes. Sorry, just say that again. What were you saying?
The topic of femicide itself is a very sensitive and powerful topic to tackle. So, what inspired you and your team to approach this issue through a true crime lens?
Okay. Well, the it didn't start out quite like that. The origin of the series was that I came across in 2015 a book by David Klatzo, the well-known South African forensic investigator. And I thought, there's a story here. And so I contacted David and we got to talk about it. And I came up with the idea of a series called David Klatzo, Independent Forensic Investigator. And that was how it started. And then a long period of time in which we tried to get it funded and so on. Eventually, SABC came along and said, we would really like to have the series. So they commissioned it, and then they said, this is for SABC3. We have a millennial audience. David Klatzo is an old guy, and how are we going to reach a millennial audience? So it became a very easy step to say, well, we'll deal with murders involving millennials. And then I thought we needed to, and my co-producer Enver Samuel agreed with me, we needed to have stories that were relevant and united by a theme. And it became very clear with the ongoing scourge of femicide in this country that that would be a really powerful theme. And so every story deals with the murder of a woman. That's how we came about it. And then there was a process of research in which at least 30 stories were investigated. Some fell through, but we ended up with 9 that we felt cover a range of different kinds of killings and different kinds of murders, but they're all powerful and they're all relevant.
And the show title is called Looking into Darkness. It's a very powerful title in its own right. Can you share the significance of this title and how it ties into the series' broader themes and message?
Yeah, that's quite easy to do because, as I said, it was originally David Klatzo, for independent forensic investigator, and since David is the host, and it's not about his cases, although he was involved in a few of them, we needed something stronger. And I'm not quite sure how that title came to me, but it was very much about the dark side of men, mainly. Why some men choose to murder women. And so I thought looking into darkness, or David Klatzo looking into darkness, captured both Klatzo with his personality and his screen persona and his gravitas, and also the subject matter, the darkness of men who actually find themselves killing women. And one of the things we looked at is through one of our experts, Dr. Benita Mullman, is that there are some men who actually enjoy violence. They enjoy hurting women. So that was what we wanted to explore and do so through the stories.
Mm. And in addition to the broader themes of femicide and gender-based violence, the series also highlights the experiences of individual survivors. How did you approach the ethical complexities of telling these stories while also maintaining the dignity and privacy of those involved?
Well, obviously we get consent, and there are very few survivors in the sense of the people who were murdered, but
Mm,
there were one or two people who did escape. In one of Inver Samuels' stories about the Norwood serial killer,
mm,
he interviewed someone who was really scared. She didn't want to show her face. She did survive, and so that was the one thing. Secondly, when we talk about survivors, I really think we're talking about secondary victims who are the family and the close friends, if not the communities, but very much the sense in which those people talked to us and they shared, they opened their hearts, their pain they shared. And that's a tremendous act of courage. And they did so some ways because they were angry still and wanted to communicate that anger and share their feelings and what had happened to them. I think it's unimaginable, really. And I've, in fact, been speaking to someone who chose not to participate, but is the sister of one of the victims, and she says they're still affected, 15 or 20 years on. They suffer post traumatic stress syndrome. So I think being sensitive, you can't let people censor your programs. They do need to sign releases, but at the same time, you try to be sensitive and you don't talk about things that people don't want to talk about. And they, to a very real extent, control the conversation. I say to them, if you don't want to talk about it, don't go there. But they have, for the most part, shared in an extraordinary way what they went through.
mm. And during the production of Looking into Darkness, did you or your team encounter any, unique challenges or unexpected revelations that influenced the direction of the series itself?
Yes, certainly. There are a lot of those.
Mm,
Let me start with some of the challenges.
mm,
People were scared. Several of the stories fell away when people got death threats. In one case,
mm-hmm,
a journalist sharing a very powerful story with us at a certain point said, "Look, I've got kids. I don't want to pursue this. I'm pulling out, and I'd prefer it if you don't do it." And there was no one in the small town where the murder had happened who was prepared to talk to us. So there was that. Then an unexpected, very special thing happened in one of the stories which dealt with the murder of the young sex worker Nokopila Kumalo. We had identified some people to talk to with the assistance of SWET, that's Sex Workers Advocacy, Education Advocacy Trust, and we were told, could someone come along to be interviewed as well? So I said, yeah, okay, sure. And this person turned out to be a friend of Nokapila, and she spoke movingly. And there was great irony because she said, isn't it dangerous? And Nokapila said to her, no, this is Cape Town, not Johannesburg. And of course, it was in Cape Town that Nokapila was brutally murdered and kicked and stamped to death. So that was, if you can talk dramatically, it was a dramatic addition to that episode. And then some of the challenges that came up would be that people decided, oh, I don't want to be in it. And you'd counted on that person. But, you're halfway there, you're committed, and you've spent money, you can't go back. So there are solutions. And in one case, I got hold of the court record and simply got an actress, roughly the same age, to speak the evidence that was said. And it was critical evidence in a very powerful case. And so you got around those things. You have to think on your feet. But documentary filmmaking is something where I like to think of it as a jazz improvisation. You have a plan, you have a melody, you have a script, but in the field and in the moment, things don't work out quite the same. New things happen, and sometimes you have to abandon other things. So that was the process. And the last thing is that some of the places we filmed were dangerous. We took security with us, and those are challenges. You may be filming in Lavender Hill, and our security person, who is an off-duty Metro cop, says, "Excuse me, I just want to talk to this guy. He's one of my informants." And he jumps out the car, talks to the guy, says, we've got to move, guys. There's just been a shooting here, and there's a bit of a turf war going on. We don't want to be caught up in it." And so you move. So there's a certain amount of danger, although we are cautious.
Mm. And as a filmmaker and a storyteller, you've created powerful series that shines light on often overlooked and underreported issues. Now, what has been the most rewarding or humbling aspect of your experience working on Looking into Darkness?
I would say the encounters I've had with surviving or with secondary victims, family members, close friends, they were extraordinary. They really did share, and it, for some of them, I think, brought the pain back. But there was an impulse, a strong impulse in many cases, to share their experience. Maybe it was cathartic. Maybe they felt that it would help people perhaps avoid things. And there are, I think it's one of the things that's interesting. There are, from a few episodes, a couple of lessons where women started to suppress their feelings or fears, or family members that were picked up things that were not okay and didn't act. And I think that's one of the messages that comes through, if it's educational, although obviously we're trying to make compelling, relevant television, but that you need to act if things don't seem right. And often that means they aren't, and things get worse.
Mm. And lastly, for those who are interested in watching Looking into Darkness, where can they watch this series?
Well, it's going to be aired on terrestrial television, that's SABC3,
Mm-hmm.
from August the 6th at 8:30 on a Wednesday night for 9 weeks. But it will also be available on Catch Up and on SABC Plus, which is online. And that's important because millennials, but to a great extent Generation Z, don't watch a lot of television on terrestrial television, at least.
Mm.
So we're hoping the series will bring them back, because both Enver Samuel, my co-producer, and I believe that we are making television that is meaningful and relevant and part of nation building, if you want, if it doesn't sound too grand, and but it's also good television and compelling viewing.
Mm. I mean, Mr. Peter Goldsmid, thank you so much for joining us and just for giving us, insight and unpacking this true crime series, which is called Looking into Darkness. So thank you so much for your time.
It's a great pleasure. Thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show.
Thank you so much. Viewers at home, this was an amazing conversation that I just had with Peter Goldsmid, who is a screenwriter, director, and whose latest project, Looking into Darkness, just is very interesting, and it's something that you should be tuning into on the 6th of August, 8:30, which is going to be on SABC3. But without wasting any time, let's go to a quick break. We'll see you right after this.